She wasn't even supposed to be there. She just lost. Hard. In front of a crowd that came to see her win. And 2 hours later, the US Open handed her one of the biggest opportunities of her career anyway. A 21-year-old from the Philippines. A player nobody had on their wildcard shortlist. A player who, 12 days earlier, didn't even own a WTA title. Now she's walking into Flushing Meadows to play alongside a top 5 men's player in an event that pays $1 million to the winning team, on a stage that's about to hand out more prize money than any tennis tournament in history. This is the story of Alex Eala's wildest 2 weeks, and why the people running the US Open decided she was worth the gamble. Stay with this one. Here's the thing that makes this story strange, and honestly a little bit uncomfortable. The same week she got this gift, warning signs were flashing everywhere. Fatigue, a rolled ankle, a collapsed lead in a deciding set. Analysts openly questioning whether her body can survive what's about to be asked of it. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand 2 things at once. Why Alex Eala might be the single most valuable player in tennis right now who isn't even a top 10 seed, and why some of the smartest voices in the sport are worried this opportunity could break her before it makes her. Stick around, because the way this story ends, with her walking out onto Arthur Ashe Stadium for real, is not guaranteed. If you're new here, hit subscribe, because we're going to be tracking every twist of this run all the way through September. A bombshell born out of heartbreak. Let's rewind to where this actually starts. Cincinnati, mid-August 2026. Alex Eala walked onto the court at the Lindner Family Tennis Center against Amanda Anisimova, a top 10 player and a genuinely brutal draw for the 3rd round. It was a fight. Eala had her moments, but in the end, Anisimova came through in 3 sets, and Eala's Cincinnati run was over. For most players, that's just another line in the results column. A tough loss to a good opponent, on to the next tournament. But for Eala, this loss landed differently because of everything riding behind it. The crowds she'd been pulling all summer, the history she just made, the sense that something bigger than a single match result was building around her. Then, just hours later, while the tennis world was still writing up her Cincinnati exit, the US Tennis Association dropped the news. Alex Eala had been given a wild card into the US Open mixed doubles main draw. Her partner, Felix Auger-Aliassime, the Canadian world number 4. This wasn't a case of Eala being on some wildcard watch list and finally getting the call. She had never played mixed doubles at a Grand Slam in her career. She wasn't even in the conversation. And that's exactly what makes this decision so telling. The US Open didn't hand her a wildcard because of a doubles ranking or a doubles resume. They handed it to her because of what's been happening in the stands every time she plays. The number that explains everything. To understand why the US Open made this move, you need to understand what happened at the DC Open just 2.5 weeks earlier. Eala walked into the Mubadala DC Open as an unseeded underdog and walked out with her first career WTA Tour title, beating world number 3 Jessica Pegula in a rain-delayed final. It made her the first player from the Philippines, male or female, to ever win a WTA Tour event. Tournament organizers said the demand for tickets to her matches ran at 80% capacity or higher, match after match, in a market that had never had a reason to care about women's tennis quite like this before. That win pushed her ranking up 8 spots. It padded her prize money past $1.5 million for the season. But the number that actually mattered to the US Open wasn't a ranking number at all. It was attendance. It was ticket demand. It was the sight of a stadium filling up specifically because her name was on the schedule. Tournament organizers don't hand out wildcards for sentiment. They hand them out for box office. And by mid-August, Alex Eala had become one of the most reliable box office draws in the entire sport. Meet her new partner. So who exactly is Felix Auger-Aliassime, and why does this pairing make sense beyond the marketing? Auger-Aliassime is 26, Canadian, and currently the world's number 4 men's singles player. He's reached an Australian Open semifinal, plus quarterfinal runs at Wimbledon and the US Open. He's known for one of the heaviest serves on tour and a game built to trouble the very best players in the world. At the time the wild card was announced, he was still deep in his own Cincinnati run, working his way through the draw. But here's the connection that made this pairing feel less like a marketing stunt and more like a natural fit. Both players have deep roots at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain. Eala trained there from the age of 13 and graduated from the academy in 2023. Augurelius has trained under Tony Nadal, Rafael Nadal's uncle and longtime coach, and has spoken openly about how much he admires Nadal's approach to the game. Tony Nadal himself has shown up courtside for Eala before, including during one of her breakout wins earlier this season. When asked how the pairing came together, Auger-Aliassime pointed to something refreshingly simple. Their management teams share the same agency, and the idea just made sense once people started talking. He's also been candid about why mixed doubles appeals to him strategically, even during a brutal stretch of the calendar. Staying sharp and competitive between singles matches, without the same pressure as a 5-set battle, is something he said he genuinely enjoys. He's also acknowledged, with something close to amusement, that the crowd dynamic in this partnership is going to be unusual. He's the more experienced Grand Slam player, but she's the one who fills the stands. For her part, Eala has said she's genuinely excited for the experience, that the US Open is an electric place to play doubles, and that with a lineup this stacked, the mixed doubles event is shaping up to be one of the most interesting parts of her whole tournament. The most stacked mixed doubles field in years, and when you look at who else is in this draw, stacked barely covers it. Topping the field, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka teaming up with 24-time Grand Slam singles champion Novak Djokovic, arguably the single most star-studded pairing mixed doubles has ever seen. Also qualifying directly through combined rankings, Elena Rybakina and Taylor Fritz, Diana Schneider and Daniil Medvedev, Iga Swiatek and Casper Ruud, last year's runners-up, Belinda Bencic and Flavio Kobali, and Amanda Anisimova, the very player who beat Eala in Cincinnati, paired with Lerner Tien. Then come the wild cards, and this is where Eala's company gets genuinely impressive. Alongside her and Auger-Aliassime, real-life spouses Elina Svitolina and Gael Monfils, with Monfils reportedly playing out one of his final seasons before retirement. Two-time defending mixed doubles champions Sara Errani and Andrea Vavassori, who weren't even guaranteed a return spot after the whole event got restructured last year specifically to lure in bigger singles names. Leylah Fernandez paired with Frances Tiafoe, and Taylor Townsend teaming up with Alexander Zverev. 11 of the 16 teams in the draw were set through this single announcement, 6 through combined ranking, 5 through wildcard. That's the company Alex Eala is keeping in her Grand Slam mixed doubles debut. The matches are set for August 25th and 26th, first round and quarterfinals on the opening day, semifinals and final on the second, all played across Arthur Ashe Stadium and Louis Armstrong Stadium, the two largest venues at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. The money on the table. Now let's talk about what's actually at stake financially, because the numbers involved here are staggering even by Grand Slam standards. Last year's US Open, in 2025, paid out a record $90 million in total prize money, the largest purse in tennis history at that point, a 20% jump over the year before. The men's and women's singles champions each walked away with $5 million. The mixed doubles winning team split $1 million between them. As of this writing, the USTA hasn't yet published the official 2026 figure, but given the trajectory of the last several years, and Wimbledon's own 20% purse increase this year putting pressure on the Open to keep its lead, most signs point toward another record-breaking number when it's announced. For Eala, that mixed doubles $1 million prize is obviously not the point. It's the exposure, the experience of playing alongside a top 5 player on the sport's biggest stages, and the kind of Grand Slam doubles reps she's never had before. But it's also real money on the table in a tournament where she's already guaranteed far more than pocket change. Because mixed doubles isn't even close to the biggest thing happening for her at Flushing Meadows this year. Her biggest seed ever, and it's not close. The real headline of Alex Eala's 2026 US Open isn't the doubles wildcard. It's what's happening in singles. After her third-round finish in Cincinnati, live rankings had Eala on pace to hit a new career high of world number 18. The official ATP and WTA rankings update lands August 24th, right before the tournament begins, and that update will determine her final seed. But her position is close to locked in. Eala is projected to enter the US Open as roughly the 15th seed in the women's singles draw. To put that in context, her previous best Grand Slam seed was number 29 at Wimbledon this past July, where she made history as the first Filipino player ever seeded at a Grand Slam. If the projections hold, she'll blow past that number and become, by a wide margin, the highest-seeded Filipino singles player in Grand Slam history. And this isn't Eala's first rodeo at Flushing Meadows, either. She won the US Open Girls Singles title here back in 2022, at just 17 years old. A year ago, in her main draw debut, she made history again, becoming the first Filipino player in the Open era to win a Grand Slam main draw match. A dramatic third-set tiebreak comeback that had her in tears afterward. This time, she comes back not as a wildcard longshot but as a genuine seeded threat, a WTA Tour champion, and arguably the most talked-about storyline heading into the tournament. The warning signs nobody can ignore. But here's where the story gets complicated. Because everything we've just described, the wildcard, the seed, the title, the momentum, is stacked on top of a schedule that is, by any reasonable measure, brutal. Eala has been the single most active player on the entire WTA Tour in 2026. Before Cincinnati even wrapped up, she had already played 56 matches this season with a 38-18 record. More matches than anyone else on tour, full stop. After her breakthrough win in Washington, she pushed to the third round in Toronto and then went deep again in Cincinnati. And the signs of wear have been showing. During her North American hardcourt swing, she openly admitted to feeling as exhausted as she'd ever been, after grinding through 8 matches in 7 days. She rolled her ankle in a grueling 3-set battle. And in Cincinnati, before the eventual loss to Anisimova, there were stretches where fatigue looked like it was catching up with her. Tennis journalists have not been shy about voicing concern. One prominent tennis writer described the schedule bluntly, pointing out that if Eala makes it to the second week of the US Open, she'll have played what amounts to 8 straight weeks of tennis dating back to Washington. A workload he called unsustainable for a player of any age, let alone a 21-year-old still establishing herself on tour. A tennis podcast host went even further, saying he was genuinely worried about her both mentally and physically heading into New York, concerned that by the time she gets there, the tank might simply be empty. And now, on top of an already punishing calendar, she's adding even more to it. 3 tournaments, 1 body. Here's the full scope of what Alex Eala is walking into at Flushing Meadows this year, and it's a lot. First, the Mixed Doubles Championship with Felix Auger-Aliassime on August 25th and 26th. Second, the Stars of the Open exhibition on August 27th at Arthur Ashe Stadium, where she'll face off against American rising star and world number 14 Iva Jovic in one of 4 singles exhibition matches. An event where a portion of ticket proceeds goes toward tennis and educational programs for under-resourced communities. And third, the one that actually determines how her season is remembered, the US Open Women's Singles main draw, which begins August 30th. If she goes deep, as her seeding and recent form suggests she's capable of, she could be playing competitive tennis at Flushing Meadows for close to 3 straight weeks. 3 separate commitments. One 21-year-old body that's already logged more matches this year than anyone else on tour. It's not hard to see why people are nervous. The part that makes her different. And yet, here's the thing that keeps pulling people back to her story instead of scaring them away from it. Eala has shown, over and over, that she doesn't play like someone who's afraid of the moment. She's beaten Olympic champions. She's beaten Grand Slam champions. She's taken down a world number 3 in a final. She has, by her own admission, refused to think about the tournament in terms of how far she needs to go. Her approach, she said, is simply to take it match by match, round by round, without putting a number on the outcome in advance. She's also shown she knows how to recover. Between Toronto and Cincinnati, she deliberately built in downtime, small, ordinary things like getting a haircut, seeing friends, stepping away from the sport for a moment before diving back in. She's talked openly about the importance of managing her workload and staying healthy, which suggests she's at least aware of exactly what the skeptics are worried about, even as she keeps saying yes to more. And that's really the tension at the center of this entire story. This isn't just about whether Alex Eala can win matches. It's about whether the sport's newest, biggest attraction can survive the very success that's making her one. Why this matters beyond the scoreboard. Step back for a second, because there's something bigger happening here than one player's packed schedule. The US Open didn't give Alex Eala a wild card because of a ranking algorithm. They gave it to her because she's become something the sport doesn't see very often, a player whose value to a tournament has almost nothing to do with how many Grand Slam titles sit next to her name, and everything to do with what happens in the stands and on social media the moment her name appears on a schedule. She's brought new fans into tennis who weren't watching before. She's turned matches that used to be background noise into full-blown national events, with a Filipino community that shows up in numbers big enough to change the atmosphere of an entire stadium session. She's proven, in the space of about a year, that a player's worth to the sport can be measured in ways that don't show up on a ranking chart at all. Whether she wins or loses at Flushing Meadows this year, that part of the story is already written. What's still unwritten is whether her body holds up long enough to let her finish telling it. What happens next? So here's where we leave things. Alex Eala steps onto the court for mixed doubles alongside Felix Auger-Aliassime on August 25th, in a field stacked with two of the biggest names ever assembled for the event. 2 days later, she's back out for an exhibition against one of the sport's other rising stars. And 3 days after that, her real tournament begins. A US Open singles main draw where she's set to be seated higher than any Filipino player in Grand Slam history. 3 tournaments, 1 tightly packed stretch of weeks, and a whole sport watching to see whether the player who's captured its attention faster than almost anyone else can survive the very demand she's created. If you want to follow every match, every twist, and every headline as the story plays out in New York, make sure you're subscribed and you've got notifications on, because this is one storyline you do not want to miss the ending of. Drop a comment below. Do you think Alex Eala can handle this workload? Or is the US Open asking too much of her too soon? Let us know, and we'll see you in the next one.